Snap out of it. Stop thinking your vote doesn't matter and doesn't affect our community. This November, truth is, we need everyone to vote. Fill out your ballot early and return it before November 7th. Then text your family and friends that their vote matters and remind them to get up, get out, and be a voter. A message from the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County.
Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Sultan City Council, Position 7. I'm Vicki Roberts-Gassler, member and past president of our League. This forum is being live streamed to our League YouTube channel. To those in the virtual space, thank you for joining us. A recording of the forum will be available on this same YouTube channel for later viewing. Let me provide some background on the position. City Council members manage basic public services, sewer, water, fire, police, roads, parks, etc. They establish and enforce local laws, control how land can be used, and provide direction to the mayor or the city manager. They manage relationships with other governments, nonprofits, and businesses for the benefit of city residents. Candidates for Sultan City Council Position 7 are Jeffrey Allen Beeler, Sr., and Winnthrop E. Maass. It is the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. The rules for participation in this forum were sent ahead of time to all candidates. I will pose the questions and will clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We are using a countdown timer visible to all candidates, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. I will change the starting order for each question, alternating the candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Jeffrey Beeler, then Winnthrop Maass. Let's begin. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to this first question. Mr. Beeler, your question is, what are the major issues you feel need to be addressed by this office? Please explain why you are focusing on these issues. Please come off mute.
Yes, Zoom links, we got these. Yes, thank you for having us in this participation with the League of Women Voters in Sultan Schools. Appreciate everything that they've done. This small little town of Sultan of ours is a nice place to have brought up a family. We moved here 23 years ago, and some of the things that were priority back when I moved here are still priority now. The one I feel is the most major is Highway 2. Highway 2 is gotten to become a bigger snarl of traffic over the last few months as COVID has released itself finally from our travels. Everybody's going everywhere again. And one of the things that I'm concentrating on, and I have, in fact, the reason why I got on the city council started off when a friend of mine back in 2006 was killed on Highway 2 at Fern Bluff Road. This kind of brought attention to the fact that Highway 2 is an issue. It wasn't real personal up until that point. And my family actually always teased me, why would you ever move out to Sultan on the highway of death? And like I said, in 2006, it kind of hit home when a friend of mine was killed. And I said, I need to do something because I'm having my family grow up here. My kids are eventually going to be on the road. And so that's when I got involved with the Highway 2 Coalition. We're trying to strengthen the safety of our highway, implement larger highways, less congestion, and we have struggled. But at the same time, we've also been successful. We've gotten over $100 million of improvements to the highway, and I'm looking to do more as we continue on with the council with improvements over the next few years. So that's kind of my main goal of being on council.
Thank you. Same question to Mr. Maass. Please come off mute.
Thank you for having me. For me, what I see in our city council has changed over the more than a decade that I've been here. I used to associate really closely with the city council, with Carolyn when she was mayor, worked with her in her local store programs. And now what I see is that our city council has become sort of a political Pez dispenser. People wanting to go to Olympia, people wanting to be on the county council, people seeking higher office. My opponent has run for Congress for the last two presidential elections. I mean, I really don't see that our council these days is representing the people. And one of the things that I see that is a real symptom of that is when the council makes a decision that's fairly controversial, all of a sudden they say, oh, we're not going to have a meeting and we're not going to allow any citizen input. And that really disturbs me. And that's why this year, out of all the years I've lived in Sultan, I've decided to run for council. I believe I don't have an agenda of my own. My agenda is going to be provided to me by the people of the city. I listen to the people. I'm a past president of Eagles, so I do know like a lot of people around town, and I hear what they have to say. I mean, we all know about the traffic on Highway 2. It's a joke, and it always has been. I just want to have a voice for the people inside city council and not just a vote for political futures. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Candidates will have 90 seconds for the next questions. Timer, please adjust the clock. The next question goes first to you, Mr. Maass. It is, what qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address the issues that you have mentioned?
I'm waiting for the clock. There we go. I'll say qualifications that make me a good choice for this is, first off, I don't have a political agenda. I don't want to do anything in the future beyond being this particular city council office person. I'm really fairly well known for helping people in need without any interest of my own. That's how I became president of the Eagles, because I was always dipping in and helping someone. I think that my experience with the city council in Sultan has let me see the procedures and know what needs to be done. Before I came to Sultan, like almost 15 years ago, and I brought my daughter to this town, I lived in Chicago, and I was a precinct captain for the city council in Chicago. So I also understand big city politics as well as small city politics. And I just really want to, like I said, to grasp the views of the citizens around me and make sure that they get heard. That's really all anyone can do. That's what our city council should be for. And that's how I want it to go.
Thank you. Mr. Beeler.
Yeah, the qualifications for city council, one of the things that I bring to the table is, first of all, I'm a small business owner. I've run a business for almost 35 years now. Started it right after I got out of high school. I had used it as a kind of a college way of paying for college, and ultimately loved what I did and decided I would continue on as a sole proprietor. I've been successful in doing that. I've raised a family. My wife has stayed home. She homeschooled her kids. So I bring that side, the business side, to the table. Not only that, but I also have been involved with a number of other organizations. Like I said, was a part of the Highway 2 Coalition. I was the treasurer as a board member. I bring to the table the fact that I've been on the HOA board here in my small little community. And I've been everything from treasurer to president. These are all the things that I have experience with. Mr. Maass brings up a point. Yes, I ran for Congress. I ran for Congress because I felt I'd made a huge difference in the town, for many years on council. And I thought, if I could take this back to Washington, D.C., these types of ideas and this type of experience, I could make a difference back there. As we all know, I didn't make it to the Congress step, but that doesn't mean I've stopped looking at Sultan. It is still my community. It's still extremely important to me. One of the things I'm proud of doing is the fact that we do make sure that topics are discussed, regardless of whether they're high priority, small, big. It is important for this community to be involved. So we have never
Thank you, Mr.
stopped
Beeler.
any of the discussion in this community. So I'm not sure what he's
Thank
talking
you.
about.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question, starting with you, Mr. Beeler. What measures, if any, would you support to keep housing options affordable in your city?
So when it comes to housing options, one of the reasons why my family moved out here was it was the most affordable place to live back in 2000. We could buy a house and survive on one income. Things have changed dramatically, but still, if you look at the price of a home in Sultan, it is more affordable than any more of the Puget Sound area, and that's why we've had such tremendous growth. In fact, the city of Sultan is one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Washington. But handling that growth has also become very important, and we have to be strategic about how growth occurs to make sure that we don't allow the traffic to continue to get in the way of the people commuting to work, going to school, making sure it's safe, etc. I loved working with our mayor, Carolyn Eslick, who has endorsed me also. She was instrumental in how she's been kind of my guiding light on how we go about doing business. When she was mayor in the town, the things that she did about the homelessness and how we handled just the traffic and just her leadership was instrumental in how I've become today. And I want to acknowledge that she's been a great mentor of mine. So growing in a town is important. Growth is important. Trying to make sure that we keep things affordable is one of the things that we have to do. So that's what we do. So that's why I'm on council.
Thank you. Same question to Mr. Maass.
And I unmuted myself. Okay, so the housing affordability in our city has one caveat that Mr. Beeler didn't mention, and that is that we pay more for our city services than people in Linwood, Bellevue do. Back when I was working with Carolyn, that was one of the things that she had promised to focus on. And you know what? It hasn't happened. What has happened is incredible waste by the city. I mean, there used to be a beautiful city sign out by the Red Apple that's welcome to Sultan. And it was torn down and some junk 4x4 post with a carving on it was put up in its place. Why would we pay for that why do we have that extra money to spend to de-beautify our city when we can't lower people's costs? And if you can't pay your city services, having a mortgage is really going to be a problem. So that's a big concern of mine, and it's a big concern of all my constituents. And that's really where I stand.
Thank you. To you first, Mr. Maass, the next question. Homelessness is a growing issue for many in our communities. As a council member, what solutions would you propose?
Well, one of the issues with homelessness in our city is that we folded up our police force a while back, and we brought this city in and we pay them to be the City of Sultan Police. Although they're not the City of Sultan Police, they're just the county sheriff, and they use this as their head of the eastern part of their district. And it really bugs me that they don't really work for us as a group. And we pay them to do it. And I wonder why it is that we don't charge them to use our city, our police station, and use this as their eastern district instead of paying them. And I think that homelessness is a legal problem. I mean, morally, sure, it's a problem, but it's not something that the city council can really afford. I mean, the things that I've always talked about being in this city were like, if you plant a tree in the city of Sultan, I want that tree to bear fruit. And you know what? Maybe that would help homelessness. But other than that, there's not really much. I mean, we're not in a position where we can build shelters. So I think that's more of a county issue than it is a city issue.
Thank you. Mr. Beeler. Same question.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with Mr. Maass here on his point. It is a local issue. It's not a county issue. And in fact, I was extremely proud that when I joined the city council back in 2009, one of the things that our mayor, Carolyn Eslick, was doing at that time was she was working on the homeless problem that we had. I don't know if you can remember back there, but during that time, we had a number of homeless people, and that count was growing every month. Our mayor went about it the right way. She reached out to the local churches and the Red Cross, and she got together the entities that are needed in our local community to help these people out. And we brought people out of their cars and got them shelter. We got people jobs. I say we as a community, not as the city council. As a city council, what can we do? We can help make it easier for and communicate those types of things. We folded up our police force. That's a bad way of putting it. We actually took that. I was on council when this happened. We actually took a budget and we were able to keep a police force that was bankrupting us by going with the Snohomish County Sheriff. And they have been a tremendous partner. We charge them for the building they use. We have an investigator. We have 4 deputies. We have a chief of police. We have a number of sheriffs coming in and out of town all the time. We did this strategically because we knew we could get better services with the way we were doing it.
Thank you. So, Mr. Beeler, the next question goes to you first. It is, all local jurisdictions are required to update their comprehensive plans in 2024. What changes or additions would you suggest?
You know, when it comes to the comprehensive plan, one of the main strategic things that we have to do as a community is bring in people from our community, because they're the ones that live here. And it's the council to take their input and then create our comprehensive plan. Back in 2007, we had a comprehensive plan that the state looked at and said, this isn't working. So I spent the next 2 years with the council when I got on, creating a plan. And by 2011, our comprehensive plan for the city of Sultan was the ultimate plan that other cities throughout the state looked at as the blue ribbon plan. We had done such tremendous outreach to our community. We got input. We had literally dozens and dozens of meetings over a period of 24 months creating this plan. Now, from 2011 through now, we've changed it once, and we're in the middle of the process of doing it again. And you're going to see out in our community signs going up saying, please put input into our community. How do we want our city to look over the next 5, 10, 20, 40 years? That's what the comprehensive plan does. How much traffic do we want? How much policing do we want? Those are the things the community needs to decide. And then it's up to the council to take that from the community and implement it. It's not up for the council to decide without community. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why I got on the council. In 2005, 6, 7, we had a council that was running it without community input. I chose to get involved.
Thank you. Mr. Maass.
So we're talking about sorry. Oh, okay, I was trying to make sure I was unmuted. We're trying to come up with a comprehensive plan. So my methodology for what I will do as a councilman is basically exactly what you want to do for a comprehensive plan, is that I'm the guy who talks to people, who knocks on doors, who asks questions, who sees things happening in the city and says, why is this happening? Can you tell me this or that? And that way, what you're doing is you're not sitting around in the council, spinning ideas with each other about how we're going to deal with traffic circles on Highway 2. You're listening to what people have to say about their city. And in the past, I mean, I've been involved in a lot of things. I mean, we needed a dog park, so I had my good friend help, and we put up a dog park. Leo's a great guy. You know, we do many things for charities, and that's what we need as a city. We need the input of the people and the things that the people want, and turn that into a comprehensive plan, not what the council people want.
Thank you. Next question. What actions, if any, would you propose to respond to our changing climate? This one goes to you first, Mr. Maass.
You know, there's really not anything we can do locally to stop our changing climate. I'm disheartened by electric vehicles personally. And I know we had one of the first charging stations on Highway 2, and that electric vehicles are, you know, they don't emit the carbon monoxide, and that's a great thing. But I believe that we should be talking about hydrogen powered vehicles because it's cleaner and it doesn't involve mining toxic things that are bad for the environment. All we can do as a city is make sure we have plenty of trees and they're blooming really well, and teach people to make emergency plans, because sooner or later something climate related is going to strike us, and we need to have our people know how to have an emergency plan and be prepared for it. It's a very frightening time, and there's not a lot that can be done. And it's kind of a sad situation. I'm hoping that, you know, as the energy for automobiles, you know, becomes a new factor, maybe the climate does change on its own. But that's all we can do is hope. I hope my daughter has a better life than the one that I see in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Beeler, same question to you.
Absolutely. Yes. Like was mentioned, Sultan was one of the first cities on Highway 2 to put in the first charging station. It was part of a groundbreaking that has now, you know, you can cross Highway 2 and actually make it from one side to the other without, you know, having to worry about, will my car make that with that charge we have? You know, the things that we do as a city when it comes to climate change are we have to look at what occurs in our town quite often, which is the flooding. Flooding seems to be exacerbated by climate change or growth or a little bit of both. And so it's up to the city to make sure that we are taking care of watching the homes and residents and the businesses that are down in those low-lying areas to make sure that we have the resources when flooding happens to help them out. We also have done what is called repetitive flood loss, which is if a home or a business is repeatedly flooded, there's actually federal funds that we can capture to buy those properties out to make sure that we don't have that repetitive flood loss. And then we turn that into what's called green space. We can turn it into a park, or we can just let it go back natural. So those are some of the things that we've done over the last few years. We've helped people with the flooding, the droughts. It's up to us as a city to make sure that we have the resources and the connections available, so when emergencies happen, we can reach out to our state representative or our congressional leaders and get that.
Thank you. Thank you. We come now to our final question, and for this you will have 60 seconds. It is first to Mr. Beeler. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters.
So I really struggled to try to figure out what it was that people would think of. All I could come up with, I was going to go to school to become a meteorologist, and I started a window cleaning business instead. But meteorology, the weather, climate change, it's always been a passion of mine. And it's sometimes frustrating because I've done a lot of education in weather and climate change. One of the things that frustrates me is when people take data out of perspective and they try to correlate extreme events to just regular everyday events. Meteorology is a passion, and I've always enjoyed, in fact, I was down in Florida last week visiting my daughter, and it was enjoyable to go see a huge lightning storm. They called it a severe weather event, but it was a fun sitting on the porch watching out the big lightning show. So that was my fun.
Thank you. Mr. Maass, over to you.
So something about me that would be, no. Well, I moved to Sultan about 15 years ago. And my reason for moving here was because I had a daughter who was going to begin first grade. And one of the things that I saw that Sultan had was a unicycle team. And I knew that riding a unicycle was going to strengthen my daughter's core and turn her into an athlete and give her just a little self-respect that she might not have had in before that. And so we moved here, and she learned to ride a unicycle, and it really did change her life, and it brought me a lot of happiness. And so one of the reasons I came to this town.
Thank you. This concludes our forum. The League thanks the candidates for joining us and for running for office. A recording of the forum and others will be available on our League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and our YouTube channel. Find links at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these and all candidates. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet will be mailed starting October 18th. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information that will be available when the pamphlets come out. Ballots will be mailed starting October 19th, and Election Day is November 7th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team, and special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan School students at TurkPride.tv who made this live stream possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our Candidate Forum.
Thank you very much.